everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm here today to do a book review for A Conspiracy of Mothers by Colleen van Niekerk. So this was a book I read because I'm heading off to South Africa for a vacation, and when I was looking through my library catalog I found this book, and this is set in 1994, mostly Cape Town. So 1994, spring of 1994 was a very important, or I should say April, was a very important time in South African history. This was when they were having their first free election where anyone could vote. Black, people of color, white people, everyone had the right to vote for the government. And this was the first time in the history of the country that this was happening. And so set on this backdrop, we have three women who are our main characters. Rachel, who is our matriarchal grandmother slash mother. Yolanda, who is a mother and a middle-aged woman who came of age in kind of the, I would say the late 1970s, early 1980s. And then we have Ingrid, who is a young college student, who is Rachel's granddaughter and Yolanda's daughter. This is a multiples perspective narrative, so you have each chapter is a different character, and it mostly focuses on Rachel, Yolanda, and Ingrid, but we also have a peppering of other perspectives that come in from someone named Stefan's mother Elsa, and a couple other people that are related to the greater story. So we know from the beginning that Yolanda has experienced some trauma under the apartheid government, and she is currently living in the United States trying to deal with that trauma. We also know that Rachel has put in place some steps to bring Yolanda back to South Africa, and that Ingrid doesn't know the truth about her family, the truth about her mother, her parents, and is trying to reconcile coming of age in a new South Africa that will be different for her than it was for her, her family before her. This book is very beautifully put together. Each character is created with a lot of depth and nuance, which I really appreciated. I would say that there's an element that some would call magical realism to this story, but I would hesitate to call it that, and this is a new perspective for me as a white person, but I think that when you're talking about different cultures who are bringing in a kind of spiritual or supernatural element to the story, it's really important to put that into context with the culture from which it's coming from. And so there's definitely a kind of supernatural and serendipitous amount of scenario to this story. And I think it made the story quite rich, and it gave you not the sense that the story was in any way a fairy tale, but more that it allowed for a vehicle through which change and healing and understanding can come. And I really appreciated that perspective because when you're talking about something as harsh as the apartheid regime in South Africa, and as challenging as a lot of the subject matter is in here, you know, Yolanda having gone through a very traumatic experience causing her to suffer from PTSD, and just the general experience of living under a racist regime for so long. It's nice to have something in there that gives power back to the people enduring this abuse and this discrimination. And so I believe that the magical realism that weaves its way through this story is that it's giving you layers of that person, and giving you a way out of their pain towards a place of hope and a place of healing. And so I really appreciate that about this book. There is a journey here. There's many people who are journeying here. There's many people who are healing. There's many people who are reconciling their part in apartheid. There are people who are trying to hold on to the regime because of the power. There are people who are trying to break it down. And this book also does a really good job of sharing the kind of atmosphere of the country at this time, because it was a very volatile time in the country where there was a lot of violence. There was a lot of desperate attempts to, hold on to control, as well as a lot of hope and expectation from people who had been disenfranchised for so long. And then ultimately too, I think this is a story about relationships and the things that we sacrifice in order to save ourselves, maybe, including, being a proper parent, including social norms and how you bend to them or how you don't bend to them. And then ultimately, this is a story told, even though there are male perspectives in this book, I think it's a very female-centered story. It's a story that holds the women's perspectives in high regard, like keeps them up at the top, especially in discussing the things that women are asked to or are forced to endure under military style regimes where their men use power against women in things like rape. And so there is discussion of rape in this book, so just be aware of that if you're interested in reading it. I just thought that this was so well put together. It's a debut novel by Colleen van Niekerk. She grew up in Cape Town, and I would say probably, very much in this time period, she was aware of things changing, and now she lives here in Vancouver, BC. So I would highly recommend picking this book up. It is educational, but it's also got a beautiful, nuanced, multi-generational family story in it. And so you get to understand this history and be introduced to it in a way that's just really, really compelling, and it gives you a perspective that you probably aren't going to get from all South African literature, because there is a very modern feeling to it as well, which I really liked. I liked that it felt very of the now, despite the fact that it's set in the 90s. It felt like it was a story of moving on, of healing, and of accepting certain truths because you can't change them, but then working towards something better. And I think South Africa is still doing that, and it just made sense that these characters were able to exemplify that in their story. So please check this out, and I will be back again soon with another video. Thank you so much for watching.